educational and public engagement programs. At the core of SIPF is a firm belief that photography can be enjoyed by all. SIPF is organized by DEC, an art photography gallery. Art Photography Centre Limited, DEC, is a recipient of the National Arts Council Major Company Scheme. So tonight here with us, we have photographers Bob Lee and George Wong. And just to introduce a little bit about the artists, Bob Lee is a photojournalist, formerly a photojournalist who was with the Lianhe Zaobao for more than 10 years. And after leaving the newsroom, he started his own photography and videography service, The Fat Farmer. Bob is very well regarded for his iconic portrait photography of well-known individuals such as Aaron Kwok, Jackie Chan, and personally one of my most favorite portraits of Lee Kuan Yew as well. He also actively uses his skills to bring social issues to light. Bob lives and works in Singapore, and at SIPF, he's presenting his artwork, Memory Blocks, which I will leave Bob to share more about later on. Together with us is also George Wong, an artist who's incredibly intrigued by the current state of photography and the means of its production and distribution in the world today. Of course, the value of images is something that he's also very much concerned with. And oftentimes he explores this by embedding his investigations within absurd systems of his own construction, which sometimes come across as exceedingly humorous. He also lives and works in Singapore. Hi, Bob. Hi, George. Thank you for joining us today. This evening in Singapore, it's 9 p.m. in local time. And, to kick off, our conversation today, I was hoping that Bob, maybe you want to start first with sharing with us the motivating factor behind your project, Memory Blocks.
Hello everyone. Yep, I'm Bob, and how I started the whole project is so Memory Block is actually shooting a series of photograph, a family portrait in the HDB flat, the Singapore flats, and then do a portrait. And then I started 2009 when I first purchased my own flat at I can't remember which year, but I always like standing at the window looking at another flats, the neighbors from opposite. Their living rooms actually looks quite nice, and then if I can go into their house to take photographs, that would be great. I can know what kind of furniture to buy. I mean, the whole idea started with a very simple idea, like just like, if I can go into their house. So if I don't know them, and as a photographer, I have these tools, the camera. So I use the camera as an excuse to, I'm doing this project, then I can visit your house. So that's how I started the whole things. But of course, throughout the years from 2009, 2012, 2015, and until today, we've taken at least about more than hundreds household, and slowly the project become, quite meaningful for myself, as in starting to record, and then some of the people in the photograph actually pass away, and then the piece of photograph for the families actually become a memory for them. And then some of them, they still keep in contact, say that, I still remember that photograph, my grandpa or my grandma or my mom who passed away due to certain sickness. I mean, that becomes their memory, and that's what makes the project become meaningful along the way from 2009 until today.
Right. And the last time there was a major presentation of this work was, of course, during the SG50 celebrations, and you took some 50 images then as well, right?
It was because of the project, because SG50, and so that's why we said, okay, so DEC contacted me, say, Bob, can you come in to participate in these things? Yeah, why not? And since I continues this project, then I'll try to do 50 household, 50 portraits. And during that period, is like within a few months going around to take, imagine that if one night I'll go to one household, because it's not just going in and take photograph and go. Normally I'll go in and I'll talk to them, chit chat with them. So it will take some time to go. So at one evening, and the whole photograph, the whole series only take after 7 p.m. And the reason why 7 p.m. is that's the time that the evening time is what I feel and what I hope is a family bonding time, and so we can get the whole families to come in as doing the portrait. And you can imagine from 7 to maybe 9 or 10 p.m., the max can do maybe 3 household. That means that I need to run here and run there, because I don't just do in one block, one location. I do actually travel around the whole Singapore. So 50 household, 3 months actually. Okay, 3 months got 90 days, but of course I need to rent.
Oh, very sorry. I think we lost all of you there for a moment. It is the time of the night for Netflix and chill. So we are also fighting with bandwidth with everybody else in the HDB blocks that we reside in. But let's carry on where we last left off with Bob Lee. We were talking about you and the previous presentation of memory blocks during the SG50 period. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that manifestation and the project then?
Yeah, so year 2015, which is SG Singapore 50 years, and because of that, and decided to do 50 portraits who stay in the HDB. Now, obviously, because I'm trying to show the whole HDB, different type of HDB. So from 1 room flat, 1 room, 2 room, so until the jumbo flat. So I need to during the research stage, I mean, try to contact different people, friends, and then of course it's not just like, okay, I'm sure that I have more than 50 friends, but either way, I can get 50 friends to agree to let me go and take photograph. That's another things. So when I started to do the research and then I started to contact, there are a lot of people. It takes actually quite a while to manage to get 50 different household to let me go in to take portraits. And of course, all the portraits is taken at night, from 7 p.m. onwards until 10 p.m. Just like to visit different house, and yeah, it took a few months to actually to do a 50 portraits. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure. Definitely a very, very arduous process. And if I remember correctly as well, George, SG Scenery 2020, which is currently being presented at SIPF, also had a previous incarnation that was also presented at the SG50 celebrations, and it was titled Scenery then. So George, why don't you share with us a little bit of the impetus behind this year's edition of the work and how it's different from its previous incarnation?
Yes, so in 2015, I also presented the work Scenery with Bob as well in the same location. So actually my work is a very nice contrast to Bob's. Also, yeah, this is a slide where you can see the presentation of what I did. And then, but what I was showing there was views seen from the windows of different residents around Singapore. Next slide. So what I had to do is I had to visit different homes similar to Bob, but I photographed the view from their windows. So at the point of time, I also try to include sometimes the window frame in the image as well. But of course, now with the COVID situation, things have changed. And then I had a conversation with Gwen. And then I decided to restart this project, but with a different.
Yeah, back.
Okay, we're back in action. All right, sorry about that again. Yeah, it seems like everybody is really going hard on the Netflix tonight. You should be tuning into our channel instead. So back to you, George. We were talking about the challenges of manifesting the artwork this time around, especially in the context of the pandemic. So George, please take it away.
So what happened in 2015 is that when I was working on the project, I had 3 difficulties. Mainly, one of them is access, position, and timing. So for access is that I need to have so there will be no problem with access because the person stay in the house. They can photograph whenever time they want, and especially if they are working from home or they have to stay at home, it's even easier. Position, they can take from any windows they have in their house, and the timing is also up to the person. It can be any time of the day. And of course, with regards, maybe a little bit backwards is that the camera selection will be slightly different. It means that I have a lot of submission for the new work that is from camera phones. So I guess with the advance of technology, did make only now the project become viable in that sense because of the resolution and the quality of the cameras from camera phones. In fact, I think that 90% of the submissions are from camera phones.
Right. So the rationale for the crowdsourced impetus was you personally feeling that with the lockdown that we had, which lasted for 2 months in Singapore.
Yes.
Entering other people's homes would be a bit of a challenge. And Bob, of course, this was something that I guess you weren't able to, you can't overcome due to the nature of memory blocks, where you were the one who was taking those family portraits essentially within the homes of people. Do you feel that the pandemic made things much more challenging? Were people less welcoming and less open to having their portraits taken in light of this virus scare?
Okay. In fact, when I decided to continue the project, I started contacting some of the people that I wanted to shoot during the 2015. I mean, during 2015, because it's limited to 50 households. See? So actually during that time, I already contacted some of the people that I want to shoot because of the house, because of their job, because their home, because of certain criteria, and this year when I started continue this project, the first one that I contacted is them again. Say I'm continuing this project again. So this I already told them I will continue the project. It's a continuous project. I will take every 5 years. I will do one more time. So then I said, can I come to your house now? This year? Can?
Right.
And I said, okay, of course. But I say, of course, I will wear my mask. And when I started the first house, I decided that hey, I should record something. I should make the photograph something different compared to many years ago, because this year is so important to capture into the photograph. So I say that how about the whole series? A little bit changes is that all the people in the photograph need to wear the mask.
Right.
So compare. I mean, still the same. I set a few rules for my own project. Maybe you can see the next few slides. This is previous. I think this is 2009, and then the slides can just go on. It's okay. Yeah, and then 7 o'clock is one of the things that was only start the stick shooting at night, and then you only shoot the people who stay in the house. What I mean is like, so of course when I say I'll come and do a family portrait, everyone will ask their relative or friends or come and do a family portrait. It's only shoot the people in the house. And then the third thing is your for this year I will request that you guys to wear the mask.
Right. And of course,
and
because of safe distancing.
And then they say, you come to take a family portrait with mask. Don't worry. I will do two versions. One is with mask, one is without mask. The ones that without mask, I'll give it to you, then you can keep. You want to print it out, the A2, A1 is up to you. But of course, the one that I'm going to use for my exhibition will be the one that with the mask. Right. And of course, they are quite happy with it. So yeah, so this is one of the house that I went to this year. I'm a designer. In fact, I contacted them, two of them 5 years ago. And then because of the timing, I think they haven't moved to the new house. They no, this house is so messy. Wait for us to wait 1 more year. We'll move to the house. No, next year I'm not going to shoot. If I want to shoot, it will be 5 years later. And then that's 5 years later that I do the shoot. Yeah.
So in a way, it was also this process was made easier because that that relationships with these individuals have extended for have been there for quite a while, for more than 5 years. And so going back to you, George, with this new process of working, when you crowdsourced all of these photos, how do you feel about those relationships being mediated across the internet? And furthermore, do you have anything to add with regards to this proliferation and ease of access to photography taking tools these days, essentially our smartphones?
Yeah, so okay, so it's definitely easier to make the photograph, but the approaching of the strangers, that's where it's the hardest. Sometimes I feel like a door-to-door salesman. Sometimes they will say yes, on, no problem, but then nothing happens.
Right.
So they say sometimes they will just send through WhatsApp, and then and the resolution is low. I can't use it because eventually the presentation needs to be a higher res, at least one meg and above. So that itself is a problem. But I guess it's something like when you do street photography, you go around, you ask people to take a photo of them, you get rejected, and you also sometimes get accepted. It's something like like dating. You meet a girl, you get rejected or you get accepted. So I think that happens. But But the response has been quite positive. I mean, there are some people who reject, but I mean, we just move on to the next person who is more interested, or maybe find that he or she has the photograph that is, that he would like to contribute. So actually what I did was also that I have an IG page. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, okay. This is my website. So I have a website so that to introduce information to whoever is interested. Then after that, I have an IG page. So this is like I try to capitalize a bit on the power of social media, and people will see their work being presented on the IG, and I think that really helps in promoting the work as well.
Right. And I remember, going to the Instagram page where you have the daily stories kind of feed, and I saw that there were many people who, after submitting those images, were very, very excited to receive thank you emails from you, and they were sharing that at the Instagram as well. So of course that definitely helped to spread the message. And so, one of the reasons, why I had brought the two of you together, and I thought it was a lovely way to have this in conversation, was because in some ways, both works do center on the notions of homes in Singapore. But while one of them looks into the homes, with Bob Lee's work, looking into the homes, into the that little universes that we built in our what we sometimes refer to derogatorily as our shoebox units. George's work is looking out of the homes, and definitely this year with the coronavirus pandemic, our views towards these places have shifted, has changed in light with the pandemic. Like, for instance, I'm just going to start off with an example with some of the photographs that you have taken. I think there's Mr. Brown is featured in one of them, and all of his studio equipment is there at home. What do you think the pandemic has to say in relation to these developments here?
Wi-Fi is okay, right? Still connecting up. Yeah. So you see, from outside of the HDB, actually all looks the same. Yeah. No matter it's pandemic or not non-COVID or pre-COVID times. But when it comes to inside, actually, we are the one who change the content inside the house. So if you like, you can see some is a designer, some are artists, some are just a normal household. And but during this pandemic, like you mentioned, Mr. Brown, when I first went to the house, then she showed me that this is my living room, and then all the equipments like this office. Then it's like this compound, this area, it's not just a space for the family to have their lunch or with their dinner, but it's not just a bonding time, but it's become an office, using a space. The space become very different in terms of how the family actually shared this place during this period. It can be very close to each other will become closer, or maybe you become the relationship will become bad because of like I need this space, I need this space. You are
right, yeah, of course.
I'm working, but the children is running there, and then I can't do so. I think it's not an easy period, but
all of them feature the masks. But beyond the mask itself, how do you think these changes are apparent inside the homes, especially through the photographs?
Yeah. To be honest, other than some of the because not everyone really I mean, like those who work in the media really bring back all the equipments in. But when I would go and visit the house, it was still not all change. Some still remain the same compared to before. And the only things that you can make it, the only sense that you can see from my photograph that hey, this is taken at this year is the mask. That's the only things that I can use. But of course.
Oh, sorry. Once again, it's still happening. I'm very, very sorry to all of our listeners for the particular inconvenience. But Bob, back to you again to continue your train of thought.
Okay, let me see how to link back the things. Yeah. So like I was saying that because the project is not like until this year will be stopped. So many years later, 10, 20 years, or maybe 30 years later, when you look back, all these things that the hints in the photograph will let you know that, hey, this is actually taken in which year. Even like the 2015, the S350, that was the year that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew passed away. And then you can see some of the photographs actually have the televisions is on, and then you have the documentary of him. Also, you can see his pictures is there. So like from the little things, the photograph, actually the fun part about this series of photographs is, there are so much information to look at the photograph, not just the family portrait, but the things that are on the wall, the things that on the table, the TV screen. And one of the things that I asked him to do is, if you have a TV in the angles that I'm capturing, please turn on the TV, watch the channel that you always watch. So because that actually tell you a certain another information, whether you like you at this year, what kind of culture, as in like pop, K-pop. Suddenly that you can see a Chinese family watching a Korean drama, and then you have a Malay or an Indian family also watching the Korean drama. I'm not going to say this is the year. Then many years later, maybe there's no more people watching this kind of show. So I think all these little things actually is quite fun.
And so in that regard, the body of work itself starts to emerge as a time capsule, as a manner of speaking, right? And so over to you, George. I guess in many ways, the landscape that we see outside our homes, it has not changed much. Maybe it's a little bit depopulated. But do you think in the eyes of the people submitting those images to you, that there has been a significant change? Is there a different way that they view this outside world around them?
I think what I want to say, that maybe there's a few points. Let me see. Okay, so like I agree with you that maybe the outside view is still the same, but because of the context and the feeling, because we have experienced this period of being at home, maybe things will most probably go back to the normal in the future. But we had this experience, and as a result, when you look at the pictures, you will have to understand the context of it to really experience it. What the time was like then. So it's not really, to a certain extent, it's not really visible in the picture itself, but more through the context. But then another point also that I was listening to Bob, and then I realized something. So yes, so the difference I think is that because of my work, this new work, SG Scenery 2020 is crowdsourced. So hopefully, I also hope that the impact on the photographer means that the photographer who make the images and submitted to this project are hopefully more affected in that sense, because their pictures were selected, and they'll remember maybe this pandemic even more deeply in that sense. So that is, of course, that's also my hope. It may or may not happen, but because now it's spread out to many people who submitted for this, and maybe they'll talk about this project in the years to come, and they'll understand, have a different feeling about the whole experience.
But of course, in the mind's eye, I think we had a rather humorous conversation, a couple of weeks back, and we were talking about how in the past, when you look out of your window, you would feel that, it's a boundless possibilities. It's a weekend enjoyment. I'm going to go shopping down the streets. But yet, I think with this new photographs that have been user submitted, I think the streets are also more remarkably empty compared to previous incarnations. So there's also that sense of dread of going into the outside world, right?
Yes, definitely.
Right. So to move this conversation along, both bodies of work all do have their previous incarnations. So starting off with you, George, back to you, George, again. How do you see this continuing? And for whatever reason, why do you think that you might do a SG Scenery 2030 perhaps?
I mean, it's a bit, I'm not sure what happened. I mean, a lot really depends on what happens in the world and how, as an artist, how I react to it. I mean, during the pandemic, during the circuit breaker, I mean, a lot of things affected our lives, and I also find it very hard to really adjust to this situation. But I got this project, so I got busy with it. I actually hope to continue the IG for 1 whole year. So
Right.
maybe for another few more months, but the physical exhibition will end in 17 Jan, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I hope to continue this work at least, because at this point of time, we are really still in a pandemic and we really don't know when the vaccine will appear or how long will, it really will this situation of working from home, or maybe what would be the changes eventually to our lives, that maybe if everybody works from home, and what will happen after that?
Right.
Maybe
So,
the project may move to delivery mans.
so perhaps for the benefit of the audiences here, when exactly did SG Scenery 2020 start? When do you start collating these images?
Oh no, I have to check. I don't know.
Roughly, like during the lockdown period?
Oh, so what? But no. So sometimes what happens is that sometimes I ask for images taken during the lockdown as well, because sometimes they may have old images already in their phone. So actually, what I wanted to also maybe touch a bit on is what I'm working on now is actually what I call current archives. Means that these are the recent images in the photo libraries of people now. So within the past few months. So that's what I'm actually more interested in. What do people keep inside their phones?
Right. The current
these few months, because maybe what I also wanted to say earlier, but I didn't manage to put it in, is that actually because of the lockdown, I personally feel that things become slower. The world in the home is forced to slow down. So as a result of this slowdown, right, people become more sensitive to the surrounding. As a result, the pictures will come along because of this sensitivity. Like last time where we don't work from home, we're always rushing, trying to catch the bus, trying to catch the train, trying to catch the Grab. And really you just rush through everything. But being at home, you're actually slowing down. And actually, that's actually quite obvious in the pictures that you see on the presentation, or in the IG, or in the website, as well as in the final presentation.
So you do very strongly feel that that in terms of image making about photography, that sensitivity also comes with having that little bit more time that which we Singaporeans very regularly in a normal context wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes.
Right.
That's very of course maybe photographers have it more because they practice with it a bit more.
Right.
But for maybe general public, they will not maybe know about this so much. So actually, it's a concept that's called by Stephen Shaw. This concept of heightened awareness. Basically, it's the awareness of really looking at the everyday world with a clear and focused attention. So he has it, and I think really by slowing down, the general public is able to experience it as well. And of course, it's the ease of photography as well.
And I was actually rather tickled by when you said that about this notion of current archives, and you talk about the content inside a person's phone. And the first thing that came to my mind was that, wow, the phone has become the new memory block, because all of the memories are inside this brick that we are all carrying in our pockets as well. And so, on the topic of memory blocks, going back to you, Bob, have you still continued taking photographs of homes after the presentation at SIPF at Emerald Hill right now? And how long more do you see the project continuing?
How long more? I think there are people come to me say, hey, you should publish the book. We have at least 100 photographs, and that's not enough. And then I think I need another 20 years to get more photographs, because I think the whole thing about the memory blocks is we want to see. I really want to see, like you said, the time capsule, right? Hopefully they can see if I can take another 10 years or another 10, 20 years. Then when putting the photograph together, you can actually compare what's the changes. It's not just the people, but also the photograph. What's the things that inside the house will change. The furniture or the people, or who the people inside our photograph being no longer there. I mean, all these things. And of course, I enjoy the moment that when you go to someone's house to talk. I mean, I have my own photography and videography job. That's corporate shoot and all these things. But compared to go to someone's house to talk to them and chit chat with them, I think that's my me time away from the family. Right. So when taking these this project is like, oh, okay, I can go out every night. So of course I stopped shooting now, as in after the compile all the photograph, and but of course another few more years later I will continue. Okay, for this photograph, this is actually my in-law, my father and my mother-in-law, and then I've been asking them I want to do this photograph for my exhibition from the very beginning of 2009, and then I asked them again. They say no lah, 不要啦, don't want lah. You always post our pictures in the Facebook or all the places. Until this year, I talk to them and say, can I take a pictures? Because my in-law is getting older. I mean, you can compare 2009 until now. There's about 10 years, 11 years. Yeah. So, shall we do a photograph? You all just sit down, I'll do a photograph. And that's me and my son. This is 2015, and then the next one is the next one, and it's this year. You see, as things change so far, in 5 years you can see things that change, and you can imagine another 10 years later, another 20 years. In fact, you can see these two photographs. The lighting also changed. Actually, after this photo shoot, I go and change my light bulb. The light bulb from white become yellow. So there's a fun part about the photograph, because some of the house actually I went back to reshoot because they are mostly my close friend of my family's. But for other participants, I never go back. For this photograph, actually, I just talk a little bit about this photograph. This is taken 2009 or 2011, I can't remember. But that was the photograph that when I asked them that I want to take this photograph, they say, yeah, please come down. When I asked these two elderly to sit in the middle of the photograph, after I told her, then I said, this house is only two of them stay in this house, but they have a sofa with how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 seaters sofa. And then why? Okay, of course there are information that on the wall they're telling you. You can see the family portrait actually is a huge family, and then these are the info that can telling you what's inside the photograph. That's a fun part about photography. And if you want to talk more about photography, you see the red plastic bag, or maybe the fan on the ceiling. This is what happened now. Maybe people who look at the pictures will say, oh, there's no big deal. But you can imagine 20 years later and 30 years later, if you're showing this photograph to someone, say, no, this is a fan. This is fluorescent. This is called fluorescent light.
Right, yeah, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about the projects is that I think Memory Blocks also trains viewers to try to pick out information, and through these pieces of information, right, figure out more about the inhabitants of each particular unit itself. Find out more about those people and the times that they were living in. But I want to go back again, to the original question. What do you think would be a trigger for you to start stepping again, since I understand that you have not been stepping for the past month or so since we have put together the exhibition? So what would be a trigger to start taking some photos, or will you just start it again when you feel like it and the mood strikes you and you want some time out of the house?
Oh, okay. I mean, continue the
yeah.
I would say that the fee will be another five years later. The fee not now, not next year, not 2 years later. It won't be a like gradually slowly accumulate the photograph. I will rather like this year and then another 5 years, another 5 years, and 5 years, because I think that you can see the changes within the 5 years. Things
right. So you'll manifest a little bit more of a contrast then with the longer duration, right? And so, back to George again, looking a little bit despondent there in the screen. Both artworks that we are talking about here today, SG Scenery 2020 and Memory Blocks, in many ways, they capture a particular moment in time and a way of living. And so with their presentations, George, how do you think exhibition goers are going to respond to it? And what are you hoping for these exhibition goers to experience when they encounter your work?
Okay. Can I move to the slide of the exhibition, the space of the exhibition space? Yeah, this one. Okay.
Mm.
So what I really wanted to do, right? Because I have the IG, I have the Instagram. So actually, some of the images or most of the images, a lot of the images can actually find on the Instagram. So actually, that itself is also really an online exhibition. But if the exhibition goers were to really come to the space, I try to give them something a little bit different. So what I wanted to do was to imagine that the gallery space is converted to a teleporting train cabin. So what you see here is that there's a window in front of you, and also there's two windows identified by the two TVs, which are two more windows on the left and the right. And there's even books at the side you can see for you to read, and imagine that you're sitting on a train ride. You can listen to the book, you can see the windows, and of course, I included a soundscape. Yeah. So so the soundscape will come from one of the TVs. So what you hear is actually the sound of the MRT train that that was recorded. But what I did was that I removed the destination, means that if it's next stop City Hall, I took it out from the soundscape. So as a result, there's really there's a way to stop and open. You hear the toot 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 open and toot 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 close, but it doesn't say where you go. So my hope is maybe this is a journey where we go through this period of time, that eventually we may reach a final destination, and hopefully in a very positive sense that things will become better.
Right, and I think that that's a really interesting way to put it as well. I remember at the opening of the photography festival, I had explained that the departing and arriving, the departure does not necessarily precede the arrival. Much like how we have been in the middle of a pandemic for 12 months, and we've been hearing middle of the pandemic for 12 months. So we're actually not really sure where we are exactly on this particular train ride either. But yes, your optimism is reassuring to all of us who are, and all of our listeners, I'm sure as well. And so then back over to you, Bob. How do you see the exhibition goers responding to memory blocks? What do you hope for the installation to achieve for them?
Yeah, of course, when we discuss about the ideas, right, we're going in and then for trying to change the. I mean, we put a sofa, put a TV console, but we let them can feel like this is the living room. And when we want to do it, when we saw the huge wall, and then say I want to put. Initially, I want to put like 30 photographs or more photographs on the wall. But my first idea is to print out all the 100 photographs on the wall, because that would be really looks like, wow, you're looking at HDB flat from a window looking out the lot. But of course, I don't have such a huge wall, and I don't want my print to become too small because there's so much detail to see. So yes, we selected about 26 for one of the big walls.
Yep.
Out of the 26, actually 10 of the photograph is actually was taken many years ago, and then the 16 was this year. And why the 10? When I was deciding like which photograph to shoot, because there are so many photographs, so many things to see. But and then anyway, I decided that I would choose the 10 photograph, because after I contact all the people who in the photograph, and then some of the kids, some of the relatives, and say, oh, they already passed away. This has passed on. I say, okay, I have about 10 photographs in the whole series that someone has passed away. So
and a pet as well, actually.
And one of them is a pet, which is a very close pet to the family. So I say 9 human and 1 pet. So I say the whole purpose of this photograph is to capture the memory for the family. So, and hopefully that these 10 photographs their families will come and visit and look at the photograph again, and then, hey, this is the photograph taken many years back. And then of course those pictures now in the wall is now, but I'm sure many years later, I mean, I will pass on. That is different, right? And of course we have 2 huge we printed 2 giant banners outside the room, the exhibition room. It's actually the ideas as like looking out the window. It's just like how I started the whole project, standing at the window and then looking out, hey, this house looks nice, this house looks nice. Actually those 2 photographs that we printed, so much detail inside
to create like the very, very Singaporean experience. And actually even on tours myself, I've been telling people that one of the reasons that I thought it was humorous actually to put it on the walls outside of the gallery space is because when I was shopping for the home that I'm presently speaking from, one of the places which I I had visited, the blocks were so close to each other that if I looked out of the dining room of one flat, I could see into the dining room of the block next door as well. And I thought that that was a very accurate reflection of the Singapore circumstance. Yeah.
Right.
Right. And so with that, I think we are going to conclude the conversational portion of tonight's in conversation session. However, we still have some questions and answers from the members who are listening in today. But right before we jump into this question and answer section, I would like to invite everybody, if you have the chance, to please go and check out Bob Lee's artwork Memory Blocks, which is situated at our Emerald Hill venue, as well as George's work, which is located at Deck itself on Prinsep Street. And so now, for some questions from the members of the public, the first one is actually directed to Bob. Was there any art direction in the taking of the photos of the households, or are they taken as it is? Did you allow them to arrange themselves?
So in fact, when I told them that I'll come tonight or maybe tomorrow, they say, "Oh, I'll clean up the house." No, don't clean up the house. Just remain at ease. And then even some of the family say, "Oh, what kind of clothes that we're going to wear? We should wear." So just wear as at ease. So yeah, because that's a living room is the place where you feel the most comfortable place, right? I mean, it's your own house, and then you'll feel comfortable. Then I said, just remain at ease. If it's messy, keep it messy. Of course, some of the house it will still clean up, but and some of the houses that I went to actually they remain at ease, and you can see that this photograph was taken a few months ago. I think August or September, but some of the Chinese household you still have the Chinese New Year decorations. If you go to you can see that it's always there throughout the year. That's very the fun part about the whole thing. Yeah, and then other than that, direction would be like try. The only thing that I will move will be the angle of the sofa, maybe facing the camera. And what I will do is like I said, a few rules, right? 7 p.m. And then one of the other one is I won't go further like more than 10 steps away from the entrance of the door, because so I will go in, I will find the angle that put it in. Of course, some of the things I will miss out, but I think I want to remain it as this is the angle I'm going to shoot for throughout the whole pictures. The reason is so the idea is like how you walk past someone's house, you were standing from the door and then looking in the peek beam. Oh, this is how the house looks like. So I was just trying to make myself, don't go too far, okay? Just go maximum 10 steps, and then I'll go in. And of course, some of the house, actually their living room is not the living room. Their living room actually somewhere else. So I will say, I will ask them, is this living room? They say no. Where is the living room? They will say, oh, this is okay. So you are the one who, because they need to identify to them where is the living room. So one of them is that I took his living room is actually in the kitchen. So he said, this is my living room. Okay. I said, no, my living room is outside. No, that's the place that I put all the box, all the things. And I enjoy this place. This is the place that I work. This is the place so you convert all this. Okay, because I shouldn't change anything. I would say let the owner of the house decide where is the living room. This is your living room. Okay, so I will shoot here. So I won't still remain like, oh no must be this. So so throughout the whole 114 pictures, only two or three photographs is actually away from the living room that we know.
Right. So actually, it also represents that actually people have a different. They're quite independent thinking, because when you buy a house, they really give you a floor plan that tells you the living room is here, and maybe you should probably put the TV here. But there are people who really just kind of like go against the grain completely, in how they configure their homes and how they want to live their lives. Like, you can't tell me what to do, right? I think that's a lovely notion, and that the images are so images are basically captured as naturally as possible with very, very limited direction. And we have another question, which is directed to both artists, but I think I will let George answer this question first. Is there a selection process in the case of the images that you have been collecting? Is there any sort of discrimination with the images you receive?
On my end, The only condition is that the resolution has to be high enough, and it has to be taken from the window of the corridor, and only one image per person. So some people just submit like 6 or 10.
Right.
So I only choose one. But what I really work with, right, eventually for my slideshow is the sequencing of the images. Because I don't want to, I try my best almost not to not have anyone be excluded from this, because this is the whole point of maybe experiencing this pandemic together. So there's a need for this togetherness. So I don't want to say that somebody submit, and of course if it's of the good enough resolution, I do not take the person out. So I think that's important also, because I feel that we're all going through this together and we should work together. So that's how I do it.
So very much openness, and almost regardless of whatever photos you receive,
yes.
they are actually going up into the installation itself.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and so on to you, Bob. How did you decide on which homes to go in and take photos of? Was there a selection process?
Yeah,
you only take photos of the interesting ones.
No. Actually, started with I want to make sure that I want to show the different type of HDB. So from, like I mentioned, that from one room, the rented flat, until a jumbo flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then jumbo. So I covered almost all the house and all the HDB. And then of course I want to make sure that I have different races. So I have Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Eurasian. Then because like I said, this is so many years. This project been going through about 10 years, right? So first few years that I took, I know that I already covered almost everything. So that's why until come to this year, say okay, since I'm continuing this project, maybe this year I'll be more selective. So I will make sure that there are some of the people that I want to visit them. Why I go to their house is because I want to know them personally. I mean, I know them from Facebook or social media, but I don't really know them in person. So take this opportunity. I'm always, like I said, the whole project starts from I want to use this to go to someone's house. So this year I say, okay, this is a pandemic some more, then I can use this as an excuse that go to their house, and then so I can meet them face to face and talk to them. So I think this year I took about 30 plus. At least 15, at least half of them is actually the artists or designers, those that I love to know them personally. But after I took about half of them, about 15 of the house, I said I should stop this, because the house is too beautiful, and then I it's too nice and too beautiful, too interesting. I said I shouldn't show all the nice house, or nice as in beautifully arranged, all these things. I should go back to normal, back to the usual life household. Like my house is quite messy, like a normal house like that. So from there onwards, I say, okay, I should go back to other category, not designers. Let's cut down designer. I don't want designer anymore. I don't want photographer anymore. I don't want artists anymore. Okay, let's go back to so that's how I built. So I can get the mix, a different type of household. Yeah.
All right. So you have there is a little bit of a selection process going on in order to have a nice mix of the range of housing that we have in Singapore. All right.
So make sure they're not too nice. It won't be too. It won't be real. See. You know that your neighbors. I mean, of course, the fun part is like most of us stay in the HDB, and then actually the wall is not that thick. Maybe it's this thick, but actually some of them, they actually don't really know how actually the neighbors looks like, and that's the opportunity they go. In fact, over the whole 30 over photograph, about 4 of them is actually my neighbors. So really go to the house to take pictures. Yeah.
Right, that's lovely. All right, and I think with that brings us to the end of tonight's In Conversation session. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you so much, George, for joining us tonight, and for the insights that you have shared with regards to your artwork. To everyone watching from your computer or television screens, the Photography Festival runs until the end of January, and it's across multiple sites in Singapore, Emerald Hill, DEC, as well as the Downtown Line MRT stations, as well as a partner exhibition that is being held at the Art Science Museum. I look forward to seeing all of you at the next In Conversation session as well, which will be running over the course of the festival. So thank you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Thank you.